Hello, welcome to my pre-production for gameplay designers presentation. The game I have made is called Cuchulainn, Ireland's Child of Light Descends into Darkness. So, the genre for my game is an action-adventure game with main focus on a story with certain RPG elements, mainly being through the skill tree as well as the weapon selection. This will include certain soul-like ability, mainly the difficulty, as well as the what's it called, dodging and parrying, having a major focus within it. It will also be in a similar style to the God of War franchise. When it comes to the visual design for my game, it is a very realistic style with very natural lighting. When it comes, the only lighting that isn't natural is from any magic within the game or any lanterns or fire to give a nice ambience. The game will have the player traversing from Ireland and England being the main two locations. The clothing that the characters will wear is traditional garments for when they are set, with armour to be worn by any warriors. Um, so over time, the game itself will lose a lot of its vibrant colours, the greens, the bright blues, all of that, from the world with the player's progression throughout the game. So, some mechanics which are going to be in the game. There will be moral choices which will be incorporated into the story and into side quests that the players will have to make. It will reflect on the companion character and will affect how the player is seen by people of the world. There will be a magic system which the player will have as a secondary attack. The player will be able to have two magics equipped that they can swap between quickly without having to open up the main menu. One of them is automatically selected, this being wind magic, but you are able to then select from fire, ice, earth, or light magic to supplement. There's a reason for why you're able to use it, being that Cuchulainn is a dual race being a demigod. Crafting within the game will be able to create. You won't be able to upgrade your spear, like design wise, but you will be able to upgrade damage with it by adding different trims on it by going to certain blacksmiths. But the crafting itself, you can increase your armor, add pendants which increase the defense that you have, maybe making you resistant to different spells or ailments, and a trinket which will allow you to have a 1 to 3 time use of a single spell outside of your 2 previous spell slots. Finally, there'll be hallucinations, which will be used within the game to give the player a companion character, being Fionn McCool, who is the friend of Cuchulainn, and it will also give a reason for why it will make it easier for mimics to get the drop on players, as your hallucinations will get worse depending on how bad the moral choices that you've selected. If you choose the wrong ones, it will make the hallucinations worse. The story of the game is it starts off with a battle between Cuchulainn and Fionn McCool. Fionn McCool is accidentally killed during that battle, and Cu then decides that he wants to redeem himself, so he sets out on an adventure in search of divine relics that he believes could revive Fionn McCool. The first one that he goes after is the Scabbard of Excalibur. Upon completing his treacherous journey from the edge of Ireland all the way to the kingdom of Camelot, he meets face to face with Arthur himself, and it eventually turns into a fight where you face the entirety of King Arthur and all of his knights of the Round Table. This is a fight that will test the players, will test the player in their skill with dealing with multiple enemies at the same time, and not relying on instant kill moves that come when you have a high combo meter that you can perform, as the Knights of the Round Table will defend against it. Another thing that I intend to implement is when the Knights of the Round Table lose more of their members, the more that they die, their attack and their defense will lower because their morale is starting to falter. So the main background themes focus on Irish, English, and Celtic mythology. The main character is Cuchulainn, King Arthur, Fionn MacColl, and Saxeth, and the main antagonist is the Morrigan. So, Cuchulainn is an Irish demigod, wielder of the curse spear Gaebolg. His goal in the game is to try and revive his friend who he accidentally killed in the opening part of the game. Fionn MacColl, he returns to haunt Cuchulainn throughout the entire game. He wants to try and keep Cuchulainn on the path which is right. He does not want Cuchulainn to go and kill people unnecessarily. It is left very up in the air whether this is a hallucination within Cuchulainn's mind or it's the actual ghost of Fionn MacColl trying to stop him. King Arthur is the king of Camelot, and during the game, his entire goal is to defend his kingdom from anything. He has heard of a prophecy which is said to destroy the kingdom of Camelot, and his entire purpose is to keep the kingdom safe and defend it to try and avoid this prophecy. Saxeth is the teacher of Cu and Fionn, and her goal within the game is to try and have Cu realise that this is not the path that he wants to go down. There's not any real way to revive Fionn that anyone knows. He cannot really do it because he's causing more harm than he is doing good. And then finally we have the Morrigan. The Morrigan is an antagonist, not the villain, because she is the goddess of fate, war, and death. Her entire purpose within this game is to keep Fionn dead to maintain the balance of fate itself. And she, throughout the game, warns Cu to leave this path, or else he will see why they call her the God of War. Target audience for my game. It is very easily targeted towards adults, with some much more mature themes, graphic content, with a secondary audience being like older teenagers. I would mainly focus on the hardcore players with different difficulty selections to allow people of any skill level to enjoy the game. Finally, it will include mythology fans, those who are really interested in the mythology of the world and want to learn more about it. So because of all this, the game's rating will be a PEGI 18. The games that are similar to this is Black Myth Wukong and God of War. These styles both also focus on the same... they also focus on different types of mythology, showing different interpretations of the mythological beings. The issue would be if our game is released in the same year as one of them, as a new God of War Black Myth Wukong game comes out, because my game is not focusing on on any real popular mythology. It would still hold a niche audience who is really interested in the Irish lore. Some questions that I've done. How will I show the consequences of the moral choices? These will be shown with Cuchulainn's, with Fionn MacColl's ghost or corpse. He will slowly deteriorate over time, depending on if you keep on making the bad choices, as well as the world. The moral choices will lead to different dialogue paths within the main story, but it will not lead to different branching options. This will be different with side content, as if you make a different choice there, it will change how the side quest ends. The game will be in a third-person setting, to allow the player to see the character health bar and have a much wider field of view, especially with the amount of rolling and dodging within the game. If it was in a first-person perspective, it could really mess with people's perception. So hallucinated enemies will basically be fake. They will have no shadow. You will be able to see them without a shadow, but if you attack them, you will lose your entire combo meter, which the player will build up by hitting different enemies. The world is the main place that is explorable is Ireland. You will be able to go to multiple different towns, including the fairies forest within Ireland. You will also be able to explore England, as well, a bit of England being the Castle of Camelot and some surrounding areas. So Satchus is one of the main supporting roles. When I first tried to explain this, it was not as clear. And the reason I chose Irish mythology is because it's a very niche mythology in general. A lot of times, Irish mythology is only really talked about when it comes to Cuchulainn Lane, the Spearman of Ireland. Most people don't really know too much about the Morrigan or some other characters within it. It's also the fact of I am Irish. I was really enticed and enthralled with the mythology when I discovered it, when I got introduced to it, and I have really grown and fallen in love with these characters and the legends that they have spawned. So an overall summary of the game is my intention is to release it for PlayStation, Xbox and PC. This will just allow a wide variety of audience to play the game. Reason I will not be putting it onto Switch or mobile is due to the constraints that those systems have. So the players will be here for mainly the story and the difficulty of the game. There will be a replayability within the game, being a new game plus, which will have a difficulty where if you are hit once, you will instantly die, but you carry over all of your previous items. The game can be expanded with different bosses from the Irish mythology for DLC, like the God of Water, King of the Fairies, those types of characters, and the story is going to be left at the end. It is going to be a satisfying end to the story, but still left open-ended to allow Cuchulainn Lane's story to continue through the creation of sequels. Yeah, that's everything. So, thank you very much for listening to me talk. I hope you have a wonderful day.